We are marching closer and closer to the end of our regular season, so the stakes just keep getting higher. It's like no, I was trying to go for a meat joke there and like elevating stakes, couldn't find it. Anyways, we're back with more Overwatch Contenders Fall Series. Don't give me that look, LaFawn. I'm not even looking at our feed, and I can tell how you're looking at me. My name is Falsible. Here's LaFawn, the judgmental one as always. How we doing, LaFawn?
I'm doing pretty good, actually, right? It's been a fantastic
Despite
season.
my meat joke, or failed one at that.
Sometimes you just gotta blow past attempts at humor. The truth is, this is gonna be. I mean, we're getting towards the tail end of things, right? We passed the halfway point already. Now we get into the situation where you're running out of games to make a mark on your sort of standings moving in, right? And actually, let's take a moment though, because this is an interesting season. Obviously, we're playing on the live patch in general, right? So there is a lot more. I think. Expectations for what is going to be played. However, I mean, most of the games that we've had have actually run counter to that, sort of unexpectedly.
Yeah, if you're one of those people like we were, who was listening to a lot of like the Overwatch League scrim leaks, like, oh, it's Zarya, everybody's playing the Zarya. Not here. Yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen in Overwatch League later this week when we go to playoffs. But here, it's a much more diverse meta than that. We have seen the Zarya comp. It looks pretty good when we do see it usually. But Orisa, Winston, Wrecking Ball, Sigma, they've all reared their head at some time in the past week and a half.
Doomfist did make an appearance. I say appearance.
Doomfist has made too much of an appearance. We've seen him a lot. He's like that one recurring character on shows that you wish they just write out for a season until like he comes back and maybe is more viable to play.
It's been rough.
Actually, that'll be really important when we get to our second match of the night. But first things first, in case you're just joining us, you have missed the first week and a half of action, but don't worry, we'll get you caught up here. 5 teams from the Overwatch League knockouts. Those are our Contenders teams that went up. And then we have 5 coming up from the WDG Open 2. They're split into 2 groups. First in each group bye to the second round of playoffs, while the second and third teams from each group play each other in playoffs. And, of course, 4th and 5th, unfortunately, LaFawn won't get a chance to fight their way to potentially make it to the LAN at the WDG studio for the finals.
Yeah, everything obviously culminating in that studio performance, the on-stage game in that grand finals, first to 4 for that one. Everything else will be first to 3 through the single elimination bracket. And I mean, this is, we're already getting a taste of who's going to be there in this one. We still actually for Group A, we'll get to that in a second, but there is still some things that can kind of toss up in the air. Actually, yeah, exactly there. Pokerface versus XERO. That's going to be the one that sort of decides, depending on XERO's performance today. That's going to decide, I think, the leader of Group A. Of course, Pokerface is the favorite so far. For looking over at Group B, things are a little bit more nebulous, right? SPG and Dreamers close to each other. Obviously, Dreamers, 2-0-3s. We won't see them today, but by the end of the week, we'll know how Group B shapes up as well. And I mean, there's a lot in Group B that could still happen. I think Limix, unfortunately, eliminated already, but JNGK and Euphoria, still an opportunity for things to perhaps change here in this standings.
Actually, at the moment, Limix mathematically are the only team out of all of these 10 that are actually eliminated. And SPG are the only ones that have secured at least a spot in the playoffs. Now, they could fall to as low as 3rd, technically, depending on how games go. Feels a little unlikely. Today, we got some banger matchups. We start with XERO versus FM, a rematch from the WDG Opens, a match that can determine if XERO, later this week when they play Pokerface, have a chance to fight for first seed, and also determines if FM even have a chance to make it into the playoffs. Then we go to Euphoria versus JNGK with similarly high stakes.
Yes, Euphoria, currently actually a must-win situation, even with a win. Not necessarily guaranteed playoffs, right? Some other things need to fall in their favor. For JNGK, it's straightforward. Win, and you're most likely in there in Group B due to how close that bottom end is. That would be a
it's not even most likely. It would be certain at that point. XERO and JNGK both can secure themselves playoffs today if they win. And then the other way, FM and Euphoria would be eliminated should they lose. Let's start at the beginning. That's a good place, LaFawn, generally speaking. XERO versus FM. Both these teams from the WDG Opens. FM getting third in there, whereas XERO taking it all. And XERO were actually the team to knock FM out in third, too. That was the lower bracket final. XERO just got knocked down there by J&GK. But this is a revitalized FM since that. FM have reinforced their roster and brought in a lot of really formidable talent.
Indeed. And I mean, FM also playing a unique style in Contenders Korea here, right? I mean, obviously the expectation is to see the Zarya, barring that, we are seeing a lot of Orisa. FM have, for the most part this season, eschewed that concept, moving over more to mobility, right? Seeing a lot of dives, seeing a lot of Winston from them. A little bit different yesterday where they did switch things up, but even still, I mean, this is a team that coming into this have tried to fight their own way, and now they will absolutely have to continue that trajectory if they want a chance in it. Taking a look though at their opposition off the rip. XERO, names that you will recognize here. I mean, primarily we're looking at Kilo, a player that was instrumental in in one of the victories actually last week for XERO, 4K and a 5K within the span of one map, and I do mean final blows to give themselves the win there. And Kilo, a player absolutely worth keeping your eye out for.
I mean, on the other side of things, Gurio to Kilo versus Gurio, that's a crazy head-to-head in the hit scan. And I mean, Yapin versus Jwoo, no more sleeper. Honestly, the DPS matchup today is incredible. Of course, Dox, Slime, KHD, a lot of other experienced players. Slime, a lot of people will recognize as former Runaway, former Vancouver Titans, stage title to match Gurio's Overwatch League title. It's a crazy amount of experience on this FM lineup for them to be facing elimination in a game like this.
Yeah, now as we get into it, the other thing too has been for FM is that they just haven't been able to close out a couple of their clutch situations. I mean, we saw that especially yesterday. Tough plays. We will start off on Ilios. This is going to be a really interesting map to begin. Of course, that it would be our admin pick as highlighted here in our map set. Keep in mind, Ilios playing so differently than a lot of the control maps that we see in general, due to the open nature of a couple of the points. I mean, Well stands out, of course. But also Ruins, those long sight lines, lead itself to, kind of play a very straightforward approach, sometimes even having the snipers, which normally I would not bring up, but when you do have Gurio on the field, that is not something you can fully count out. So this is an interesting map to start off with, only because it tests both the hero pools and the latent approach that our teams want to take.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, I'm thinking of FM. I'm thinking of how much Winston we saw from them last week. If there was one map in our current map set, okay, maybe it's Esperanza, but if there was a second one where I think you could run Winston, Ilios works for Winston a lot of the time. Of course, yesterday it was more that Reinhardt rush look for the majority of the series that we saw from FM. That's going to be a little bit trickier to play if FM want to try and commit to that, or we might just see them keep up a little bit of a rotation on their comps. Orisa, at least thinking about it for FM. XERO, no surprises that they run the Orisa here, despite being on the live patch where Orisa gets nerfed. This is what XERO have shown us that they like to play, and it's how they'll start off this ever so pivotal series. We're on to Ilios.
And I am glad I highlighted the Widow, because it's not Gurio who opens up with it, it's actually Kilo. But, when you are a hit scan of the level that Kilo has performed at, not a surprise to see it featured. Already putting some damage down, but no eliminations yet. And still, FM have been ushered into a corner that I don't think they necessarily want to be in.
These DPS operate so vastly differently, too. FM really just want to try and survive the harassment of Kilo and Jwoo and force attack into a more difficult scenario where Gurio and Yapin can bulldoze that enemy tank. Of course, Dox does have to step up and take a little bit of control here. Quite a bit of damage onto Yapin, too. Makes it more tricky than you'd anticipate, but FM, with good space right now, attack doesn't really want to get much closer here, but Dox is taking too much damage, so no point cap just yet.
It has become, I mean, you need to see XERO's DPS actually start to eliminate things. FM playing great line of sight, essentially nullifying the Widowmaker. Look how much damage Kilo has. Nothing. 36% on the ult for the Infrasight. And the first pickup will actually go to FM.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not clear cut, though. Ilios sneaking around here, has a nice angle on Dox. That Orisa hitbox is rather large. Dox trying to survive, and yeah, okay, Yapin will stabilize here, and FM already get up to 25 and counting.
Yeah, I think we kind of need to see some changes from Xero here. I don't think what Kilo is playing has been particularly effective, and in fact, there it goes, right? That's the signature hero we saw from Kilo yesterday, or not yesterday, last week. The Sojourn is the pickup that really was a difference maker, and it's just more active, it's just more influential, it's more involved in the fight, something that the Widow really can't beat.
Jaywoo with a nice stick, though. Goryeo already gone. Yapin pulling out that configuration assault as well, and doesn't really get much out of it. Attack shoving onto him, down to about half health, but has more than enough healing, and Yapin just mushed into that corner. No hopes for him or FM. They'll be kicked out of this one.
I mean, first off, it's a good pickup by Jaywoo, right? The stick onto Goryeo. You won't have the photon barrier for, a sustained fight. But even still, just having more active presence in the engagement with Kilo on the Sojourn is what allows that fight to actually happen. Jaywoo can play more aggressively now. Doesn't have to worry so much about being the focus.
Okay, photon barrier here to try and keep Xero away. That Captive Sun, not really the punching power that Xero were hoping for either. Both teams sort of at a stalemate for the moment. This artillery forcing Kilo's hand down to the low ground, but he's fine. Hyun's here to save the day. And Jaywoo and Attacker getting down to business on the objective. Dox, yeah, I mean, as Orisa is hard to kill, but they'll get it done eventually.
I mean, the big problem there for FM in that last fight is that they unfortunately had to use the sound barrier to block the Captive Sun because Terra Surge pulled everyone out into the open outside the photon barrier. Ideally, you would have liked the photon barrier to be that difference maker, but just a good combo by Attack. That means that the cleanup was able to be provided when the sound barrier had expired. There's Jaywoo. I mean, that should not have gotten elimination.
Jaywoo's so nasty, dude. Jaywoo, we saw, I mean, makes his debut not this season, but this year in Contenders Korea. Was too young to play in the Overwatch League knockouts, but is just going to town. Of course, now Kilo and Hyun not having so much fun. FM, despite that stick from Jaywoo, are still trying to force their way into this one, and none too soon. Already up to 76% here. Crescent falls, and I mean, eventually that'll be the kick in the teeth, and FM get the flip.
FM do get the flip, but they lose Slime. Okay, they get the elimination right after to keep things, or onto Attack rather, to keep things in rotation. Goryeo onto the Widowmaker. I mean, the Widowmaker's a little bit easier on FM side of things, right? Because, now they're not, there's no one, everyone in Xero wants to kind of play forward into the line of sight, where it makes the Widow just a little bit better. That being said, I mean, if Jaywoo were to get into the backline, the peel isn't there. I mean, you'd have to expect that the Widow is a big vulnerability here.
Goryeo evades Jaywoo for the moment. This Ant Matrix is in a really awkward angle. I guess it's enough for Xero to be dissuaded from pushing immediately. Ticking up towards 99%. One last chance here for Xero to flip this and give themselves fighting. All right, here comes the overclock. I mean, Kilo was a nightmare with this last week. Oh, already good for one. Struggling to find a little bit more, though. Look how respectful FM are. They all scatter to the winds and hide in corners. While Kilo's got the overclock out, and even without it, just normal charge, he still gets 3.
I mean, this is the problem with Kilo, right? Is that give him just one opportunity, he will end up taking the fight. He's been very quiet this round, it must be said, but enough has been done to get him online. And now, I mean, that was such a cheap fight. It was just the overclock. Can anyone even touch? Oh, yeah, just barely.
Someone will get there. Dox back on the Doomfist will trigger the overtime. But look at the focus from Xero. They know if they get rid of Dox, there's not much hope for the rest of FM. That Captive Sun forcing Slime away after dropping the beat, and the Immortality Field's gone too. No defensive resources remain now for FM. They gotta go on offense. Goryeo good for 1. Can he find any more? There goes the healing pylon and the lamp the other way. So suddenly Xero on the back foot. A beautiful shot, albeit a large target, but one no less necessary. Guryeo's alone though, as Hyun and Jaywoo have done what they needed to and kept FM off just long enough.
Little shaky from Xero considering their prowess in week number 1, but they'll eke out the victory on round number 1 here. Once they got off that really uncomfortable composition, just one switch really makes it so much easier for Xero to approach the objective. Get a quick highlight. I mean, this is... There's no chance for Goryeo there, right? Tickle his toes and he would have been taken down.
There's no chance for any of them. Like, maybe Slime had the best odds, but look how ruthless Kilo is in chasing him down.
Man, oh, this it doesn't get easier for FM as we go to Well, because this is where the Echo has been played a lot. And Jay actually, surprisingly, has added a really strong Echo into the conversation. If anything, you're trying to burst down the Orisa, which, I mean, that's an easier thing said than done, surely. And all the while, I mean, Jay-Woo and Kilo are going to sync up to try and just eradicate your backline. So you just have to be really quick and taking down the Orisa. And that is sort of your win condition.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you can teleport onto Hyun and Crescent, but there is quite a bit of peel there. Oh, and Yapin's already gone. There's surely no chance for FM. They're trying to TP away now rather than forward, rather than getting aggressive. They're just trying to hang on this corner of the objective. Kilo does unfortunately get smacked by the Rhine there. I think that was technically a bit of anti-synergy with the energy javelin that displaced Dox there, and Kilo didn't see it coming. Either way, Zero's still good to get the first cap. And Doc's in quite a bit of trouble. His shield's dropping, and that focusing beam will quickly wear him away. Slime, how have you done that? How has Slime booped the Orisa of all people into the pit?
Perhaps caught napping a little bit. That being said, I don't know that this fight. Okay, well, this is getting a little bit messy from Zero once again.
I mean, FM are fine with the mess though. They're the ones getting percentage.
Sure, but for Zero, they need to be a little bit more. For a team that was so well calibrated last week, this has been a strange stray from form.
Ooh, nice duplicate there. Jay-Woo was saving himself from quite a bit of incoming damage. And a nice pin, too. Dox hounded by tanks from both sides. Excellent work. Zero, I mean, that's a really cheap fight for them, too. They just used the duplicate.
Excellent. I mean, Jay-Woo just really, really fancy footwork while the duplicate comes in. If that Fire Strike had hit, right, it would have taken, perhaps a couple of tickles to get rid of the duplicate form. Instead, shield up, dances to the side, and keeps himself alive long enough to get the pin in past the Amp Matrix. Now, looking to this next fight, though, I mean, FM really just had the sound barrier.
Yep. Nope. Don't want to deal with it. No Terra Surge for you. We're out of there. TP away. Great play by Guriel. FM evade quite a bit of the danger there, but now they have to find a second teleport to try and get on someone vulnerable. There's that TP, the reposition for the assault mode. And, okay, Guriel's actually somehow killed attack too at long range? Really? That feels like an oversight from Zero. And they're getting split all over the place now, and FM will take advantage.
Now, this is something we were concerned about yesterday from FM, is the fact that they weren't able to, get these efficient teleporter plays. They were getting caught out a lot of the time, and just not quick enough as a team. That seems to have been solved here on this second round, as everyone goes through the teleporter, everyone is looking at the correct target, and I mean, to burst down a Tracer, for example, is so difficult, and yet they've done it 2 times, and on top of that, Attack just has not been able to stay alive, which is sort of the important thing for the Orisa to do in this composition.
Photon Barrier means there's no way for Zero to siege for the moment either. Captive Sun comes out. That's a bit bold, but at least it trades for the sound barrier. So now Zero have a chance to punch into lines of FM as long as they can evade all this damage coming through. Jay-Woo, another duplicate onto the Rhine here. Can he find the same angle for a pin? Trying to, I guess, sacrifice himself for a pin there? Wow, I didn't even see him get slimed. Oh, and the Shatter too! Doc's dropping it just at the wrong moment. The shield, not the protective safe haven FM needed it to be.
It's rare we see duplicates with onto the tanks these days because of how inconsistent it can be, and yet Jay-Woo has gone for the Rhine back-to-back and been the fight difference maker once more. I mean, now FM, this is a problem for them as we trend into the last fight. Their win condition really is going to have to be get on someone quick, eliminate them, and sort of snowball from there, because Zero have some pretty big ultimates coming up, and oh no.
Oh man, Jay-Woo's already gotten 1, and the immortality field is gone, and Dox is done, and Zero are feasting. Not even a chance to see the objective. Now it's a desperate scramble for the point. You have to imagine Slime, Dox now too on the Doomfist, but this Doomfist just doesn't have enough, right? Like, even with Slime getting here to trigger the overtime, he dies, and you have to imagine there's just no hope.
Oh, the sickies all come through. Oh, just barely surviving, but I mean, barely surviving is not winning.
No, you need to more than just survive. You need to live. You need to thrive. And FM, all they're gonna do is die. Zero with a 2-0 to start off our series.
Close in percentage, not close in score. And I think not close in performance either. XERO, when they're at their best, are so much further ahead than FM. The thing is now, for XERO, it comes down to fundamentals. Can you clean up some of these awkward engagements where you're getting caught out by the, the teleporter plays? Kilo should not be dying to a Reinhardt, right? It just should not be happening in sort of the setup. It happened twice, and I think these are places where FM are finding their value. If XERO steps away, they're able to rein back in a couple of those moments, and all of a sudden FM's win conditions have withered dramatically, and you have to feel that XERO is well on the way to kind of taking this one as a victory. So not a lot of time left, but for XERO, a good start.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw the difference in competitiveness too, based on the composition that FM was playing. I hate for us to sound like broken records when we talk about comp this, comp that, comp this, comp that, but really, it truly is important, especially in a meta that's still flushing itself out, right? Yeah. The Reinhardt, well, yeah, sure, I guess, he got some swings on Kilo, really wasn't it. We'll see what FM can do to turn things around when we come back from a break. XERO well on their way to potentially a first place in Group A. They got the first map win. They get a second and a third. Then they're at least on par with Poker Face when they play them later this week. FM, though, got to fight for that not to happen. They need not only this series, but maps potentially, too, to try and squeeze their way into playoffs. They need kind of a dominant win here if they want to pass Panthera in the, not to the map, the head-to-head, but the map differential at least, so they could technically squeeze by. And even then, they'll need a lot of help from Revival too. So FM, every single map matters. And now we go into hybrid.
We do, and man, the thing with a hybrid this rotation is that we have three maps. We have Kings Row, we have Blizzard World, and we have Midtown. And
incoming Kings Row probably for the Reinhardt. I mean, that's what we saw yesterday.
It's what we saw yesterday, and it did not really feel good, right? A lot of this is I don't know that there's necessarily a ton of maps that you really want to find value in. We go to Midtown. I mean, sure, right?
Who will be the first team to not be cowards and pick Blizzard World? That's all I want to know.
I mean, the likelihood of that happening is very slim.
I know.
If only because the meta, we're seeing a lot of Sigma on this map.
For sure.
The problem here lies for me in the fact that FM looked the best on Midtown when they were running Dive, right? When they were running Winston, and it wasn't that convincing either. Even when they were, even when they won this map, they got to second point, couldn't really get any further beyond that. And how well is the Winston going to look into the Orisa, right? This is presupposing that they'd go to the Winston, but again, it was their best look. They have not had a great setup on this map in general, and it feels like their approach is flawed against the Orisa setup that XERO is going to run basically the entire time.
Yeah, it's tricky too. We have seen a couple of teams pick Midtown, and FM were one of the teams where when they ran a different composition here, it looked dicey, right? It was the Winston, it was into the Zarya, and while it looked good at times, eventually it sort of fell by the wayside. However, now they're going to be running the Reinhardt, and one of the primary problems that we've seen on attack here for a lot of teams on Midtown is playing compositions that are really slow, right? The Sigma or the Orisa without the Lucio, right? Because you have the double flex support. And it's so hard to break through that first choke. FM aren't going to have that issue at least.
The problem is what we saw on the previous map is that as FM tries to get through that rotation, remember, speed is the name of the game for FM here. XERO has been, or JWoo specifically, has been really good at hitting those stickies to, weaken the entirety of FM on the approach, and that just uses too many resources, right? Which opens up, a focusing beam from JWoo, a body shot from Kilo. Look at that. That's all the stickies in. JWoo already at 25% ult charge.
It is pretty early, though. Surprised to see FM. Yeah, okay, there it is. Finally trying to go for the teleport. But they don't commit. Wow, FM, there was a teleport into the fire station there laid down by Gurio. That's the general game plan of a Symmetra comp, right? It's a great staging ground to try and siege the objective. Now they finally go for it on the second pass, lose a little bit of time doing so. I like this reposition from attack going to the side rather than going out onto the objective. Hard to find cover from the objective. Ooh, Kilo needs to be a little bit careful. But the configuration assault really doesn't get much of anything. Yapin needs to be finding more damage if FM are going to get out of this room. And meanwhile, Kilo can just charge a ton of railguns into a mass of bodies and wait to get his one pick. He gets it already. And with both DPS down, FM, where do you go from here? This is going to be a slow, late stagger.
And I don't even, yeah, they're not even gonna get a kill, right? That's the thing too.
Great stuff by XERO.
Very good stuff by XERO. And I think that actually the other thing too is how well they baited out. You're always going to give up some point percentage in this composition if they get the teleport in, right? That's unfortunately just the name of the game. But the question is, how much do you give up? And the truth is, that is just about as much time as it took for Yapin's configuration to, you know, dissipate. Which means that XERO was quick on the draw once that goes down to immediately respond in turn.
I don't super love this rotation either. I mean, the Ant Matrix here at least forces the duplicate from Jwoo. All right, yeah, there it is. We saw it yesterday. It rears its head again today. Everybody thinks about the configuration assault through the Ant Matrix. No one respects the power of the grenade. Yapin blows up the XERO defense.
Well done there by FM.
Oh wow! Now they're really chasing here too. I love this.
This is good. Well, okay, they need to get the eliminations, and then it's good.
Okay, I mean, it would have been good.
I like the idea. The execution still leaves a little bit to be desired. But still, that was actually a really cheap fight for FM, right? Off that the grenade combo. And so now they're actually going to be able to play really aggressively. And the big thing is they're playing as a team now. They're all 5 up in a stack, which means that if they need to teleport, they're quick on the draw.
That's a tough start, though.
It really is.
KHD dying so early here. And XERO kind of completely wrapped FM, too. They don't have card control. They're not getting any objective progress. Instead, they're just dying to attack.
I mean, the one thing that's kind of an upside there is that it was 2 ults from XERO, so... this composition unfortunately does need ultimates to kind of break out this composition. Or sorry, the Orisa composition needs to use ults to break FM's approach when they're in that 5 stack, right?
Yeah.
And so overspending becomes tough. They just need one ult most of the time. But again, that's FM not responding. So here on this approach, they should have an opportunity with the sound barrier to withstand the captive sun, and then the cleanup with a photon barrier to run down a target. That's the important thing here.
Man, I mean, this is a really nice long rotation. FM, the point is that way. FM, the point is behind you. What do you gain by rotating all the way back into here? Well, you get the captive sun, trading for the sound barrier, and Dox is already so low. Immortality field used too. I mean, Yapin is trying to get something onto Crescent or attack here, but yeah, no dice on this attack for now. I mean, XERO have held the line very effectively. A photon barrier, but Gaio! He was alone! Why didn't anybody go with him up to the high ground? Now FM, they just gotta leave.
They were so good about taking the teleporter as a 5-stack unit. And then just that happened. Why? And why we're going to the soldier? Oh, no.
Bizarre days now for FM. XERO perfectly fine for FM to rotate in their lunacy. Spend more and more time. At least if you're not going to try and go for these really long rotations, right? Like the soldier pumps out a little bit more damage consistently. If you're not going to try and teleport and do these weird things all around the point. Configuration artillery. No, that's not going to get anything, surely. No.
I mean, it just buys time, right?
Duplicate. Yeah, buys more time. Under 2 minutes now for FM. There's an Ant Matrix. Can they actually get anything out of it? I mean, their own payload is blocking quite a bit of the damage that would be pumped out here. At least some space is garnered. Nice fire strike. That's what we've been waiting for. FM finally on the front foot. They need to avoid the terror surge. Oh, and the immortality field is not the blessing that FM were hoping for.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's both DPS down. Gurio gets the health back and gets out. There's a quick recontest for FM here.
Yeah, Gurio. Okay, the soldier's still not a great pick, but at least in this particular instance, it worked out.
It's good in his hands.
And actually, FM have decided to change up wholesale. That was why that shatter was sent out somewhat haphazardly. I mean, it is last fight though, right? It needs to be flawless from FM from here.
Here comes the artillery.
Oh, nice dodge.
Yeah, I never even thought of that. Who thought that you could dodge artillery by jumping into it? The more you know. Yapin sent flying off the high ground there. Attack is going to struggle to hang on to this high ground for terribly long, though. Oh, and Kilo wants to join him, but overstays his welcome. Now without him, the Captive Sun has to be used, but again, it's that sound barrier from Slime exchange. KHD does die, though, and Crescent just rolling through the lines of FM, absconding with a pick. The payload is about to make its way to the end, though, so XERO have to get off this high ground and down onto the cart. That's, of course, Attack's job here, and wow, so much damage pumped into Yop and so little support because KHD, again, was gone. We're down to 10 seconds remaining, and it doesn't really look good for FM to extend this very long. There's no way there's enough healing to keep Docs up. Nah, he's done. And XERO will manage to hold just shy of that second point.
Still, this Midtown title can be so difficult to assail, right? And for FM, that means that it's about slowing XERO down. They do need a much better first point defense, though. Something that they have
for sure
struggled with is tough because they've so rarely gotten past first that we don't really know how strong their defense can be when given the opportunity in general. Yeah, that's...
And I mean, I'm a little bit nervous about defending with this Reinhardt comp, too. It just feels very vulnerable to potential counters. And even when this was admittedly a really nice play, though. I was skeptical of the train cart push. I was thinking, oh, it's so long from the train cart to the objective where FM really want to force play. But I mean, it's also a really great angle for Yoppin. So hats off to FM. When they get the right setup, when they get to the strong positions of power, they're able to get a lot done. It's just not pretty when they spend 40 seconds rotating around the map and don't know what to do with where they end up.
I will say I do like the Orisa better than the Reinhardt. What we've actually seen, there's one team we can always look at when a Reinhardt, Symmetra combo shows up as to how the comp should be played, right? And even the London Spitfire don't look fabulous on defense with the Reinhardt. Right, a lot of their prowess is getting really fast attack times and then just bleeding their defense, by just taking a lot of fights. So I do think going to an FM, unfortunately, as much as they'd like to, they're just not as good as London Spitfire are at this composition, right? So getting off of it, playing a more stable look, playing the Orisa just for more stability, I think makes a ton of sense.
I mean, this even just looked better on the first round of Ilios too. I'm certainly a fan of it, as long as Kilo doesn't get a shot here. Did Kilo just slide over the top by accident? Okay, he's not fine. I thought he got behind the pillar, but it was too thin. Pillar too thin there. Kilo down. Please swap to Sojourn. I beg of you. Thank you.
The correct pick. Kilo is trying to make this win. He's trying to make this win.
In a lot of trouble there. Crescent, look, I know he already does a lot of damage, but that's still a DPS player you're going up against in the 1v1. Doesn't quite work out. At least one tick is garnered here for XERO. They've stolen that away.
There's so much going on here. For some reason, XERO seems really bent on starting off with the wrong composition as well.
Yeah, it was very scary for a moment.
Switching into something that makes a lot of sense.
It felt like an audible from Kilo, right? He's like, oh, I'm feeling my aim right now. Watch this. I can get a shot. Doesn't get a shot. Gets kind of owned. Slime, speaking of getting owned, Energy Javelin tease him back. That was a really nice play by Kilo in attack, honestly.
I mean, they're actually just going to full-on invest. All right, they just want to buy enough time to get the second tick. And if anyone peeks around the corner, eliminate them.
I mean, the Ant Matrix is up in return here. There is an opportunity to try and play back. Docs needs to get onto the objective. He's body blocked. Beautiful work. Attack gives his life for it, but the point is gained. A sacrifice not in vain.
It's really that's just presence. That's understanding that the game is won via objectives and not via eliminations by XERO. Now looking into the future here, for FM, man, they have to keep themselves alive. They actually have better ults for taking fights, right? I mean, the photon barrier steps to mind right away. They do, however, need to stand as a 5-player unit.
Artillery already in. The Captive Sun can be a little bit difficult here. I believe that whiffed, though, so nothing from Crescent. There wasn't the sound barrier to counter this time, so I was nervous, but with Jaybu pulling out the blade and Kilo hitting these railguns, you don't need a Sun. Captive, loose, free. however it works, it's XERO moving forward. They got 4 minutes to win one more fight.
Yeah, FM just are not giving themselves positions to succeed with this photon barrier. They're not bypassing something of an evolution we're seeing from the Symmetra is to put it behind the tank and kind of isolate them from their heals. That is just not happening, and FM are not getting value out of a big big ult win.
Oh, the Terra Surge whiff is so hard. At least Slime and Gurio are getting stuff done. Kilo's pulled out the overclock, but he's been put down. Gurio and him trade, surprisingly enough. So Dox, all he has to do is try and survive on this objective. The respawn's much closer for FM, and they have the high ground control to boot. They will manage to stabilize for the moment, but 3, maybe 4 more fights to survive.
Yeah, it's not easy either, because you have to have someone contest the point. XERO, if given the opportunity, will try and sort of sneak it away. That being said, XERO's win condition has been set up. Or rather, their expectation. They're going to switch to the Ana here. Now we know that they're likely to give JWoo the Nano when the Blade comes through, and they want to play for a team wipe early. There's nothing pretty about this. It's all brute force.
Whoo! Okay. I mean, Justin is no longer existing. But XERO will not let that snowball for FM. And actually, even a bit of concern about the objective here. FM have to drop back off the high ground just because of where Dox is snuck to. Attack not getting much out of the Terra Surge, but at least forces a sound barrier. Doesn't really feel worth it when he dies for it. At least in this fight, going forward, that'll be important.
I mean, the thing is now is what do you use against Blade, right? The big Blade is now, because of the nano boost, just the win condition for XERO, and the fact that the Terra Surge is able to trade that out does not feel good. I think Attack accomplished what he actually set out to, which is force Slime's hand. And yeah, now it's all about just farming healing damage for Crescent, 80%. They should have this very, very quickly. And it feels like the road is getting ever shorter here for FM on map 2.
At least they've whittled away a lot of this time bank. XERO, really only 2 more chances. This has to be the one. That Nano Blade needs to be the difference maker. I mean, Nano there, Blade, okay, eventually finds its way, but won't be able to finish off Slime, and he goes chasing for just a lone soldier. 1 pick out of the Nano Blade, is that really worth it? No one's even back on the cart either, so FM get a pretty decent chance to defend this here. Terra Surge in Dox's pocket. He can make their life very difficult. Okay, I mean, even just the threat of that Terra Surge pulls out the sound barrier. Slime does fall, and the Terra Surge doesn't get much. Crescent falls eventually, but Attackers run into the back line, and JWoo's putting in the work. Kilo just surviving Dox's onslaught is going to be enough. Perhaps a desperate last contest with Slime spawning. Can he even get there in time? No! Stopped in his tracks by an energy javelin from Attack. And XERO are up 2 maps already.
I did mention it was not going to be pretty as a finish. It really wasn't. But brute force is all that was required from XERO. I mean, they'll inch it over the line, right? That's what happens when you have 4 minutes of time bank. The payload does not have to move very far. It's a resource trading game at that point, and XERO do their job. I won't say masterfully, but well enough. And that puts them at match point here in FM season. Very much on the line.
Yeah. Man, and I just can't get my brain to get off of the please play Orisa moment for FM, right? That second point, admittedly, you know, they give up first a bit quickly. Is a great play by Kilo and Attack to open that up. But now they only have 1 more chance. Map 3 when we come back from a quick break. 1 more chance for FM to save their season. They've got to pull off, if not a full reverse sweep, at least getting a couple more maps, because if not, then they lost yesterday to Panthera, plus they got lost today. The math doesn't work in their favor. XERO, on the other hand, all they need is 1 more map, and later this week when they play Poker Face, they'll be fighting for first in their group, despite how stacked this group was coming into it.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, the one heading into the next map, this is the map type that XERO lost. Little bit of a different team in that 3-1 against Panthera, right? That was the they just weren't able to solve the Zarya composition in time. Then they turned around and beat them on escort anyway, so or on push, so it didn't really matter. But the truth is, that's probably not going to happen here. FM has never, picked the Zarya in the entire time we've seen them. They've actually done everything but the Zarya, really just skirting around that issue. And I think for XERO, the Orisa has been, it was a little shaky at times on hybrid. I don't foresee those problems stepping back in as we get into Flashpoint. And it feels like XERO, it's one step away from just kind of tying this up with a pretty bow.
The flip side of that is using the ever so truthful transitive property of esports, which is definitely a real thing.
Yeah.
Panthera beat XERO on this map kind of comfortably. FM almost beat Panthera here. So, I don't think it's fair to say at the very least that FM are out of the running. It's certainly going to be difficult even here on Suravasa, much less pulling for a reverse sweep. But if there was one map that I would be like, yeah, this is potentially where FM can turn everything around, I would say Suravasa is their best bet.
Yes, yeah, that we are in agreement with. And I mean, Flashpoint also having it be map 3 is also another, sort of benefit in disguise. We've already seen this map be won by teams that are not favored in the matchup.
It can often be the underdog spoiler map.
Yeah. There's always one. It used to be Control. Now it's Flashpoint.
Okay, I'm not believing this XERO comp until it actually exits spawn. FM playing a much
we do have a
more
sub.
Reasonable composition. We do have a sub coming in too. Scarlet in for Yapin. Scarlet has been the Genji player for FM when we've seen Scarlet. It's 100% been the Genji playtime. I would have maybe liked to seen this a bit earlier, but I guess late's better than never, or at least FM are hoping it is.
Oh, they are actually just going to play it. Oh, okay.
What are we up to here?
This is a variation of the Midtown composition. The Sombra is weird, but
no pretty caster. Sombra is interesting. Are you unique? Nah, it's just weird, man. What's it supposed to do?
I get. The thing is, you don't even get on anyone who you have, right? Like, who's following up damage with Kilo? Maybe J-Wu? That feels so rough.
Yeah, it's certainly a difficult situation. J-Wu, and Anti tees up some picks. But Gurio for Crescent? Okay, with KHD falling, that is a worthwhile trade for XERO. Now all they have to do is keep the pressure on top of Dox and keep Scarlet and Slime zoned as they do. Yeah, Dox, even on Orisa, even on a character that's so difficult to kill, will eventually fall. There it goes. And XERO get their first point. Yeah.
J-Wu may have overstepped. Yep, there it is. I still don't understand this Sombra.
I mean, it has historically been a pretty good pick for Kilo at the very least.
Right. It's not so much that it's a bad pick from Kilo, or rather that Kilo can't play it. More that I just don't know what it does here.
It doesn't feel optimally synergistic.
Also, a couple changes now from FM as they go over to Winston. And yeah, what? Wait, hold on. What?
Kilo was dancing around with Dox and Scarlet for a good long while. Gurio does get found in return, though. So 4v4 as FM try to siege back onto the point. They'll at least get a brief cap here as XERO are looking to expel them. Scarlet taking a lot of damage, too. KHD in quite a bit of trouble. Suzu just barely bailing him out for a moment, and the moment lasts pretty long. Scarlet doing a great job there in tandem with Dox. I mean, this is some synergy between DPS and tanks.
Yeah, and this is what FM has looked their most comfortable on, actually, is moving over to this composition specifically. It puts everyone on their best characters, right? I mean, Gurio on the Sojourn, he hasn't been very, lights out yet, but if you give him an opportunity, he will take it. Dox has looked just better on the Winston and the Genji as well. For Scarlet has been one of the best in Contenders Korea. Now, here's where Sombra is just good in general. EMP is a good ultimate.
I mean, it cleanses the shields off of the supports. Such a heavy commitment to chase down Slime, and he's so slippery. Gurio falls with a blade out now from Scarlet. With two. FM, they commit perfectly. And because of that percentage given up at the beginning of the last fight, FM, they just have to wrap this up here. It's a bit close. but they will get this first point on Suravasa.
And now please get off the Sombra. It does not, the ult is not that good. Thank you.
Mirror
right.
comps.
Yeah, okay. This now comes down to execution, and can GXERO keep up with Kilo in the Sojourn? Now, that's not something you'd expect to hear, a year ago, but in the interim, Kilo has become just a more explosive player, and GXERO has to be able to keep in lockstep.
Almost a really nice move there from John. Instead, the Primal is going to be popped, and Dox knows what his target is. He wants to isolate Kilo, get that critical Sojourn out of the fight. He almost dies to him, but with Kilo gone, I mean, even both DPS down for XERO, a Kitsune Rush used, it's not done and dusted quite yet. FM losing Slime, things getting a little bit tricky. Crescent, how much damage can you pop out here? Even getting the Suzu to keep attack up, but eventually split from his tank. It's a trade 1-for-1. This is scrappy as can be. Scarlet trying to stabilize, looking for that support that has made their way off to the objective. Crescent, JWoo back on the Reaper. Things getting very chaotic, but XERO get the first percent.
Yeah, Dox sees the Reaper and can't actually take that fight any further, even with the supports back him up. Just not enough damage pressure. And that being said, JWoo's blade was entirely nullified in that last fight. So that is something to consider. FM investing quite heavily to lose the objective means that XERO will re-enter with an overclock. And FM, their win condition has been blade. They'll have to find one once more.
They're not even waiting for the overclock, just snowballing on top of FM here. Here comes a blade out for Scarlet now. Can he find the necessary targets? Yon's not bad. Elo's better. 3 makes the deal. FM managed to hold the line.
Scarlet does more with less, more with the Dragon Blade than anyone else in Contenders Korea right now. That has been this season. If there's a blade, there is going to be a kill, and frequently 3 or more. And Scarlet just rescues that fight for FM as they tick over into the lead now on the second objective. And XERO out of sorts, not actually being able to take a clean fight. They're just losing too many members to trades on these approaches. And JWoo playing Mystery Heroes.
And now FM taking a page out of XERO's book too, using the sound barrier to chase down Kilo. Struggling to catch up with him though, and now that overclock's out, FM, they got no more shields to keep him cover. Kilo does eventually fall. Slime dying, FM are pretty easy to pin down. Scarlet dipping, diving around the fight, trying to assassinate members of FM. Somebody's gonna touch, somebody's gonna touch! FM, they play the gambit, they sacrifice their control, their lives, their ults, but they get the point, and that's what counts. And
XERO are out of sorts at this point. That just a fundamental misunderstanding of how to approach engagements on Flashpoint. Last week we could chalk it up to the fact that a composition difference comes in. This week, they're just not putting themselves in a position to succeed. FM kiting away XERO from the point time and again.
Really aggressive use of the Kitsune Rush here too. Attack has already gotten another Primal Rage. It feels like he just used it, but he can't get GXERO actually isolated very well. Now GXERO going to be able to pop that overclock. Points unlocked too. This shield is at least helping keep XERO covered. And JWoo getting in the back, not taken down there. Scarlet with a nice pick though. Kilo falling. FM, once again, I mean, they get first cap. XERO sort of just dancing around the objective. They don't really have anywhere to go. Now they'll use a sound barrier for just 3 to try and turn this fight. GXERO falls and XERO have to make up this deficit now, but with attack gone, even if they won this, there's just no way they hold on to the objective.
This has been XERO throwing very bad ultimates very good ultimates after very bad fights. They have not gotten a sound barrier onto the entire team this map, I do not think, and FM are more than willing to allow XERO to beat themselves, right? FM is playing very, very well, make no mistake about it, but XERO is allowing them to get into things that really they shouldn't, and on top of that now, I mean, we are going to be heading into final fight. Flashpoint ticks over so quickly, XERO have no tools to work with.
Oh! Scarlet not giving them any chance, dropping from the high heavens for already 2. Doesn't even matter that the rest of the blade whiffs because his fan of blades rings true. FM Flashpoint mode. That's what we're calling their name now. My, oh my. What a dominant showing to keep themselves alive in this series. To keep their playoff hopes alive. Yeah, desperate touch here, but it's not going to last very long. Hyun and Kilo sent packing. And FM guarantee an extension to this series once they get rid of all the health on Attack. Come on, Attack, you're delaying the inevitable. You know we got more maps of Overwatch to play.
And that is a statement win here on Flashpoint, not just for FM, but for XERO as well, as they come in. And man, it has not looked good for them. Flashpoint simply has not looked good, and a lot of credit to FM for pulling in the right character selections time and again, just to keep them on their toes. They roll out with a composition that they actually want to play. They realize that the Orisa isn't working. They quickly switch. There's no, faffing about with trying to make this work, that work. Go back to your comfort picks, and the same cannot be said for XERO, who cycled through a Genji, Reaper, Tracer, Sombra, Sojourn. It's just too much.
Sigma.
Too much all over the place.
Sigma on Flashpoint. Yeah. What a bizarre choice. Never have we seen Sigma show up on any fast objective type mode, right? You think of like push or control. It just doesn't happen. XERO have to collect themselves for push when we come back from this break. A decisive mix match of strengths on Flashpoint. XERO seems to be their worst map type. FM seems to be their best map type. Yeah. As such, we get a little bit more Overwatch in this series. Now we're going to head to push, where FM are going to try to push this series to a map 5. Look, I've never made that joke once, LaFon. This is the first and only time I'll do it.
Something's better left unsaid. It's a mix of things. To kind of expand on Flashpoint. One, Scarlet steps in. Scarlet has been a difference maker whenever he's in server. As we head to New Queen Street for map number 4, I expect to see Scarlet remain. The problem here is thus. If you force Scarlet off Genji, you won't, because he will not switch. He only plays Genji. And if you can keep him in his comfort zone of the Genji pick, he will carry. He not only does he carry because he doesn't get a lot of resources and still is able to find so much value. We saw a 3-kill Dragon Blade on Suravasa when he got a speed boost, and that was really as a matter of fact because the rest of the team needed the speed boost more than him himself. So I think here is the problem for FM. Is they kind of live and die by Scarlet, and if you can make the Genji not find a ton of success, then FM will fall apart in map number 4, which we have seen from them in the past when running this specific team composition that they've got.
Mm-hmm. And the question as we go forward in the series is, will XERO even allow maps where FM can play that comfort Winston? I mean, New Queen Street, you can the argument that it'll work. In this meta, it's a little bit tricky because, yeah, you get things like the Orisa coming in, and XERO can play sort of a difficult-to-dive setup, but it's not unplayable here at the very least. So FM, they're going to go back to what has historically worked for them, what got them a win last week over Revival, and what got them a win on Flashpoint. On to New Queen Street we go. The home of Overwatch for this week, actually, pretty much, as the Overwatch League will be in Toronto before too long.
Kilo starting off yet again on the not Sojourn. We'll see how well he's able to make the Soldier work. I will say in this particular instance, it does actually make sense. It's a lot harder for Scarlet to dive a Soldier than a Sojourn with the healing station.
Will very much assist Kilo, whereas before the slide wasn't quite enough to keep a Genji away from him. Although I say that, even with the Biotic Field and the healing pylon there, Kilo's still having a little bit of a tough time. Attack left on an island, trying to keep 3/5 of FM at bay, but that 3/5 of FM will eventually batter his head in. XERO, they overcommit to the play. I mean, they couldn't get rid of Dox and Scarlet as quickly as the rest of FM got rid of Attack.
Yeah, the downside to the Soldier than the Sojourn is the fact that you don't have that burst, right? Or at least you don't have that consistent burst. The Helix Rocket just is not off cooldown frequently enough compared to the Railgun. And so for XERO, it's all about trying to survive rather than trying to make a play. FM do not have that issue. We saw, Dox was at 10 HP for a majority of that fight, and even still weren't able to kind of convert.
Oh, look how Gurio's able to just farm Attack to keep charge up, and then look for literally anyone else to poke their head out, right? Yeah. A nice shot from Gurio gets rid of Kilo. That Soldier 76, the most difficult one to dive. Hyun not nearly as tricky, so Scarlet will pull that Immortality Field immediately. Now he's in a little bit of a difficult spot, so he will get hunted down. Gurio should, or Kilo rather, should be back in the fight, but here comes a Kitsune rush to launch FM forward. They're struggling to find the angles though. When Gurio's not really set up for success, when Scarlet dies FM, they don't have much punching power.
Yeah, I mean, this is really more to keep the payload in Zero's territory than anything else, but I mean, that Kitsune Rush is such a valuable resource, I think, that it feels somewhat inefficient to do so. And on top of that, it's Zero not actually using the ults for it, so they will be able to come back in with a vengeance. And this Captive Sun is going to be able to have a lot of follow-up with the Soldier.
Nice sound barrier though. Slime's been using those all day to annoy Crescent and negate his ult. That's a nice pulse. Better Suzu. KHD saving Gurio. Gurio hardly even flinched with that pulse bomb thrown at him, and he'll pick up Kilo to boot.
That was 4 ults from Zero to get 0 kills. The sound barrier in Suzu actually just entirely nullified the war chest of Zero. And now Kilo once again starts off the game on a character that is not Sojourn, realizes that he's just not doing anything, and gets back to Sojourn. So, I mean, for Zero, listen, they are a very good team. They've proven that so far. They just need to be more consistent with rolling out in a composition that actually has a win condition, barring, you know, just throw ults at the problem.
Man, if KHD hadn't died there, I would have really loved that rotation from Zero. It's traded back a bit. Terra Surge forces the Primal, but still gets Slime. Crescent needs to die quickly if Dox wants to turn this fight around. At least Gurio, in the meantime, has done work and put down the enemy tank. I mean, that makes it hard to stay on the objective. Can FM fully reconvene? Can they regroup for a moment? I think so. KHD is already back.
Remember, though, that is all resources expended by Zero once more, and the bot is still kept in Zero's territory. So despite FM losing that fight, they haven't lost progress.
There's a blade. I mean, a blade for one is certainly the least flashy we've seen from Scarlet, but Yon was too isolated. There's no way Scarlet was going to let that opportunity slide by the wayside, and now is even tracking Jwoo, keeping him off the angle so Gurio can go into the back line with a Dox and feast. Dox getting out with less than 50 HP, and the checkpoint is finally capped.
And this has been the marker, right? One of the things that we've seen in the past is that teams, they kind of ping-pong the bot back and forth and then lose the critical fight, right? Where then they kind of just lose all their lead. The one difference is FM, despite the bot pinging, you know, back into territory, have not actually given up a ton of space. Now, they will lose their first clean fight of the map.
And thankfully for Zero, this doesn't cost them any resources either. They hold on to Pulse Bomb, Ant Matrix, Captive Sun coming up.
Yeah, I mean, counterpoint, though, is that they just gave over the checkpoint, right? So they're going to have to string 3 fights together in a row to actually gain the lead back because of that animation that needs to play once the checkpoint unlocks. And for FM, that was a fight they were willing to lose.
I thought that was going to be a much quicker rotation on his end. Even the Ant Matrix pulled out just because Zero were basically jump scared by FM's rotation. Now FM, they say, hey, free ult. We'll just rotate away and come back with force. Scarlet dumpsters Jwoo, lands on top of him. And I don't even think you need ults here for FM. Attack is completely alone. Okay, a sound barrier to nullify the Captive Sun once again, just to make sure there's no upset potential in this fight. And FM keep a healthy lead.
Yeah. Remember, this is the one kind of thing that you're looking at here, though, is the time bank. The FM need to actually gain progress on this fight to kind of keep the map, I think, out of reach from Zero. One of the problems is once you get to that final moments, if the economy were to suddenly flip in your opponent's favor, all of a sudden then winning fights in a row becomes very difficult. And then a lead that flips in the last couple of seconds is so much harder to deal with than the first couple.
Ooh, he's already on the back line. The immortality field's already gone. Scarlet's got a free chop and block. 1 down, attack in his sights. Okay, doesn't end up in the kill feed as much as you would have liked for his highlight reel, but it's still so much work being done by that blade. The bot being stolen away in a desperate attempt here by Crescent and Jwoo, but they won't get much out of this other than some stall, really.
And 3 ults as well from Zero. That's another fight that they're just not converting. They are not converting on these resources. And FM has been, you know, a big difference. It really feels like a different team entirely from the first map. Just uncomfortable, unsure of themselves on the Reinhardt, on the Orisa. When they're in their comfort, when they're in their zone, they look much cleaner. And Zero just has not been a team to be able to push them off once they get to this Winston.
And Jwoo's been getting dumpstered by Scarlet and Gurio. Jaewoo, a player who we noticed for his Tracer first when he debuted in Contenders Korea, hasn't been given any opportunities to do anything. Hyun, again, no chance for him either. Gurio picks him out of the air, Skeet shooting the bat that was desperately trying to land on the lip and get out of the line of sight. All steam, or full steam ahead, that's the word, that's the phrase we're on. Full steam ahead for FM. I mean, this lead feels almost indomitable with 3 minutes left.
I mean, and speaking of silent, Kilo has done nothing on this map.
Now it's over onto the Ash.
And this is, yeah, I don't know. The Ash does not solve the problems that they're having.
Ooh, Jaewoo could. That was a nice clip he emptied into Scarlet's head. That gives him a chance. A solid stick, too. When Jaewoo comes alive, that's how XERO have a chance.
Yeah. Still, that is so much progress to have to give to kind of tick over. Remember what I said, though, about when the economy flips? FM, they don't get the kind of progress that they were looking for on that last fight, considering how much they spent. And so it's going to be about even here. You're going to obviously handshake the sound barrier for the captive sun. Now, I mean, not even now, though.
Okay, well, Crescent falls. Sound barrier, not even used for that captive sun. FM kept it in their pocket just a little longer, and that means it's just a little stronger. XERO, they have no way forward. Attack, he's defending, but he's dying all the same. It's not a half bad dynamite, but it won't get any picks. Hyun, again, trying to sneak some payload percentage here. Jaewoo keeping him covered best he can. Scarlet low, but KHD gets there in time. And now the Kitsune Rush used to fully evict XERO. Will it actually work though? Hold on, XERO, pull the reverse card, and now can get the checkpoint.
And this is where disaster may end up striking for FM. It's 1.5 minutes left, right? So this is the team in control of the bot is likely going to be the one that ends this game on top. For FM though, again, Scarlet is going to be the difference maker. Blade in hand. XERO, the only thing they have at their beck and call is the pulse bomb.
Don't count out Jaewoo, but already the Blade cuts down his DPS duo and wears away at attack. Scarlet kind of splits the difference though between two targets and can't really clean up anything quickly. Hyun finds Dox, finally turning the tables on that dive that goes so far into enemy lines. FM, they're trying to wear away at XERO, make it difficult for them to truly push this fight. But with the pylon up, Crescent is not afraid to move forward, get rid of Slime. He needs to get one more shot. There it is. And XERO, it's going to be dicey, but they got another chance. 30 seconds left.
They do have a chance. But it's still not a big one, right? It's still not a big one. Overclock and the Primal Rage means that even the target that you kind of have to focus down is going to be so difficult to approach. I mean, now it comes down to execution. I mean, Jaewoo can be a hero again. A Pulse Bomb could be a difference. But a slim one here.
Don't use it on Dox. Forces out the Primal. Dox thought it was coming his way. Already won, though, and the overclock wasn't even necessary for that. Now doubling back. Crescent, why are you up there, buddy? Look, again, I know you're Ilios, but you can't 1v1 Gurio, especially when he's got the overclock in hand. XERO fight hard, but we end up at a map 5 all the same.
And for the last 2 maps, it has been a reverse, right? FM has been the better team by far. As close as that map was, again, it was all FM until XERO made a couple of cursory attempts at the objective. Keep in mind, the checkpoint was never earned by XERO on New Queen Street. That was their map pick on top of it all. FM to the surprise of everyone, I think after maps 1 and 2, forced a 5th and final map.
Escort, that's what it comes down to. One last chance for XERO to stabilize. Map pick for them as well. They can potentially go somewhere where Winston is very annoying to play. Circuit Royale comes to mind. There are a couple of good options, honestly, for Escort, as long as we don't end up on Toronto or something. I still don't feel bad about XERO's chances. We saw a reverse sweep denied yesterday simply because the composition that ended up working for the underdog team. Eventually, we end up on a map type where it doesn't work. Now, Winston, you can kind of play most places, but also the map pool's difficult for it. Shambali, Circuit Royale, those are both good options for XERO. FM, they fighting really hard. Scarlet's looking like a menace, but they still need one more map to pull off the reverse sweep when we come back from a break. FM have fought back so valiantly, but The reverse sweep is not in the books just yet. We go to a map 5-0. They got one more chance to shut this down. Yesterday, we almost had the reverse sweep. Limix almost pulled it off, and then we saw how difficult it can be when Escort is that 5th and final map. Such intense compositional force on Escort.
And the problem with being down 0-2 is that you lose map pick on 5, right? That is just how it works if you're going to get the reverse sweep, which means if you're a non-flexible team, you just go to a map that doesn't favor you at all, right? That's how it's going to happen. And I mean, we saw that yesterday. They went to Shambhala Monastery, and it was not close, right? It was what, 3-minute capture, like full map capture to like a full hold on first. It just is not going to work out in your favor. And I mean, we touched on that at the start before we went to break as well. The expectation here is that we're going to go to a map like Circuit Royale, a map like Shambhala Monastery, where you're not going to find the Winston to be, very effective. You're not going to find the Genji to be very effective. It's all about mitigating the carry potential of the players that are performing at their best from FM side. And right now, the places I'm looking at just don't have a Genji and don't have a Winston. And that is going to be the big question for FM. When forced off their comfort, they have looked like a different team entirely, and that is not in a positive light. So how will they be able, when forced to switch? We saw what the first half of the match looked like, right? When not on their comfort, they did not have the ability to get in quickly and aggressively on XERO. And as we head to our map set to see where we're going for map number 5, it is unlikely that they're going to have the same level of success.
Very sensible pick here in innumerable facets for XERO. Not only does this map not really play into Winston at all, it's difficult for Genji, which is great for Scarlet. It's really good for, the Sigma that Attack loves to play. Attack made his name in Contenders' career originally as being the Sigma sub-in for Circuit Royale for some excellent teams. So a very solid pick. My only concern for XERO is what are their DPS going to be playing? Because, well we've said, FM look best on comfort a lot of the time and don't look that great off of it. The same can be said for Kilo and for JWoo. Both those players, when given opportunities to succeed, have taken over the game, have taken over multiple different games. But we've had some oddities in the hero pool the last couple of maps, especially for Kilo.
I mean, Kilo has rolled out on the Widow multiple times. I will laugh so hard if he started on Sojourn. That would have been just like a subversion of script that would have been word. FM do make a couple subs.
Picking up that one.
Yeah, there's a couple of subs here. Adela steps in for FM. Yoppen steps back in for Scarlet as well, and both of these make sense, right? Scarlet, to this point, we have not seen him flex away from Genji in an official match at all. This goes back
on the
all
other
the
hand,
way.
Very comfortable flexing to whatever FM need. Is going to start off on the Hanzo, and later on, if the Hanzo turns out to not work super well, can more than easily step into a variety of different roles. Dox, too. I mean, we haven't even seen him play an off-tank, really, much less the Sigma. So a big question mark for him as we roll into the final map of this series, FM attacking. And the game will now be played much slower than we have seen the last couple of maps. Believe it or not, Circuit Royale, double snipers, not generally as quick as Flashpoint or Push.
This is also a chance for us to see Kilo versus Gurio both on Widow, right?
It's true.
Which is one of the more exciting, I think, matchups just in general.
Across the bow on JWoo, but Kilo answers back, "Don't you touch my DPS duo." And I mean, without Gurio, there's not much of a way forward for FM. They have to just make sure they don't bleed out any other members.
The big difference, of course, too, is the Hanzo versus Sojourn's shield break is going to be on FM's side, right? And you can see Attack has to cycle the barrier just a lot more frequently than Dox does. That being said, Attack has been more in the thick of things than Dox in terms of damage throughput.
I mean, it helps that FM have to walk into him, so he's able to splash a lot of damage off, whereas Dox getting out shots past is a little bit more tricky. XERO returns one onto Kilo, answering back, and now FM, they feel pretty confident to keep moving forward. This corner is going to be very difficult for Zero. Again, like, unless Jwoo has the railgun teed up and at the ready, there's not much of a way to contest Kilo. Okay, he uses the railgun to get rid of Yapin. That's worthwhile, especially with attack getting one onto KHD as well. Pretty bloody here, but Dox doesn't have enough feet to stand on, or float on, I guess. And Zero stabilized.
And just amazing. I mean, the buying that time, the elimination onto Yapin means that there's no scouting for when Kilo comes back, right? Again, another difference between the Hanzo and the Sojourn is the Sonic Arrow, and that means that Kilo sneaks in off the respawn. Everyone is focused on the front line, including KHG with that Ant Matrix, and that just opens up Kilo to take free shots away from everybody else. And those eliminations come through. Now we have the Gravitic Fluxes in tow. We'll see.
Yeah. This first point gets
wow.
I didn't even see Jwoo there. I was gonna say the first point gets so tricky to siege once you've lost the card at this point, but XERO's not struggling. That Gravitic Flux won't really accomplish much, and with Kilo falling to Adela of all people, Zero are collapsing. They still invest the Transcendence. Maybe Crescent is swapping, or maybe they actually believe this is winnable. It's just the tank and supports. Jwoo coming back on the high ground with the overclock. Can he find a profitable angle? Dox is his only target for the moment, and that overclock goes by the wayside. He's trying to sneak up here on XERO. Does XERO see it coming? Yes, I believe so. But he grapples right out into Kilo, and now Jwoo's got a nice angle. Oh, FM, I thought they had it.
Unfortunately for FM, XERO's infrasight fades a little bit faster. And while staring around the corner, wondering when Jwoo would pop out, I mean, Kilo knows that he has all the time in the world to line up that shot. And, I mean, that's experience stepping in from Kilo, right? Playing against some of the best Widows that the world has really seen. Just makes that an unfair fight for the opposition.
At least an advantageous angle here for XERO. Okay, never mind. He gets spotted.
Also, by the way, look how much damage attack has been able to spin up in the meantime.
No!
Look at the Gravitic Flux
difference.
difference.
Coming back off respawn after a late stagger is already down. We're down to 10 seconds. Adela has walked up in the face of attack, and here comes the Gravitic Flux to put pressure on Dox. No chance. FM so close twice and dominated the other 2 times. A full hold for Zero. And an excellent prospect to deny the reverse sweep.
Something that will be very funny is that coming into this, FM take the new game modes away from Zero, and yet have been shut out, realistically, on the old returning modes. I mean, that's not very far, right? A well-timed pickup at the start is going to force this into last fight territory. And
the payload did end up further than that. It was pretty close to the very end, but you're still looking at a damn near flawless hold from FM if they want to secure this. Yeah, the victory box should be moving up quite a bit here.
Yeah, just shy of the checkpoint.
Just shy.
Oh, and no, I do not like this from FM.
The Torbjorn feels like a bit of a misread.
Yeah.
It feels like they're expecting Jwoo to pivot onto the Tracer, a pick that he normally plays quite a lot, but Tracer on this map is so difficult. Jwoo would much rather hold on to that Sojourn and keep that pick potential.
Yeah, and also he did his job, right? It's not, I mean, he was not, the flashy, big pickup that we've seen from Jwoo on Tracer, on Genji. But you don't need to when Kilo's the one who's, doing the brunt of the heavy lifting in terms of the damage throughput. It really has been Kilo and Attack stepping forward on this map, and Jwoo playing more of a supporting role, which, just opens up for success, and it just has forced FM into such an awkward position because now XERO has to do the work of two players just in general.
Okay. Not quite sure how that happened, but Yapin's feeling pretty happy about it. Kilo, okay. Oh my. You can tell these Widows have it out for each other. What a wide angle from XERO there. Unexpected. Nearly gets the better end of Kilo. And meanwhile, Attack's having trouble turning this corner. Eventually, yeah, he spots the healing pylon, but now his Widow's down. So FM, they can play a bit more aggressive, a bit more bold. Look at how they chase after Attack. maybe we were a little bit wrong about this Torbjorn. It's early days, LaFawn, but it's not looking bad yet.
No, it's doing its job so far. Also, Jay was just pushing randomly into a very far corner. Turned his back to the entirety of FM.
I mean, Yappen does pump out a lot of close range damage.
Yeah.
The problem is if he ever has to disengage really far, right?
This is a tiny room to be caught in.
He's gotten isolated. KHD has been found by Kilo. This is not necessarily the ideal angle for FM. The good news is, because they're holding this far forward, they will get another fight pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
Bad news is they are going to get wiped here. And XERO coming up on ults.
Yeah. This is going to be the Molten Core does give you the benefit that where you can decide where XERO are standing, right, and put them in just in negative positions once this fight really starts, which is going to allow Gurio to look in certain places for these easy shots. That being said, I mean, this is a must-win fight, right? They are already knocking on the door.
And the infrasight advantage. I mean, look how Kilo chases to get one of these picks. There's so many players who, if they poke out just a little bit, I mean, Adela feels that in his funny bone, already getting damaged so much, but sidesteps the Gravitic Flux. That means he can keep Dox up for the moment, but still has to keep his head down. Kilo's after him. Yappen burns away Crescent with the Molten Core. That helps Dox breathe a little easier. No more Discord to worry about, but KHD, why are you stepping that far forward against Kilo? No supports now for FM. They've got to try and find something. Yappen running into the backline desperately. Not a bad Gravitic Flux, but Kilo still finds another shot, and Dox is alone. Kilo's tearing through them finally on this Widowmaker. A hard-fought series by FM, but they will not pull off the reverse sweep. XERO are still fighting for first in Group A.
We have taken so long to see when Kilo would be the definition of the carry player that he was in the past. It took until map number 5 for him to make his appearance, but boy, when he did, he really, really did. And I mean, Circuit Royale was absolutely the Kilo show. And as a result, XERO, listen, a close series, but the maps that XERO won were absolutely not. Comfort is the name of the game for this team, and the question is, as they head into Poker Face and now as a result into playoffs, how well can they shore up those areas where their comfort just isn't good enough?
XERO, on the other hand, with their comfort is good, it soars, it shines. And Jwoo was phenomenal this match. Yes, he got a little bit quiet toward the later half, but those first 2 maps were Jwoo taking over the game, and even on maps where he ends up being quieter, like we talked about on Circuit Royale, right? Jwoo becomes this positional, this supportive DPS player that enables guys like like Attack and Kilo to really work however they want. I mean, these Reinhardt duplicates, this Echo play was insane.
And I mean, it's not just the Echo, right? It also has a Genji that was really strong, Tracer in play as well. And I mean, the fact that New Queen Street was as close as it was really down to Jwoo taking over some of these fights. I mean, this one right here, that near 1 clip onto Scarlet, is truly one thing that stands out to me. But overall, yeah, just a fantastic performance from Jwoo, from XERO on the maps that they won. Some work to be done for XERO, right? Flashpoint looking really rough for them. Push not so great either, but nonetheless, they will keep themselves undefeated to look down towards Poker Face. That'll be it, though, for XERO versus FM. We do have one more game coming up next. Yeah. Euphoria and JNGK. Another game that has a ton of stakes.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for FM, they find their season over for a number of reasons. 1, this was their last match, but 2, with another loss, even with map differential help, I'm pretty sure, because they'd be -1. Okay, actually, maybe there's a single world where Revival 3-0 Panthera. I'll have to do the math off stream once we collect all of that. But first things first, we got more Overwatch to play. One more match, Euphoria versus JNGK, up next.